This video is being done in association with Sengoku Studies, the Shogunate and Tadagenji. That's Samurai Traditions of the Tadagenji. Thank you very much for Sengoku Studies for keeping this going. We have got it in a playlist, but let's get on with the video. What is the difference between a katana, a tachi, an otachi, a kodachi, a wakizashi? What are the differences? So I've asked Kimono Wolf, who's on Instagram, to draw me a couple of pictures with his 3D art. So I'm going to leave a link to him down below. And what I'm going to do is try to explain to you as best I can what the differences are. Now this becomes really, really complicated. It's so simple, it's vague, which makes it difficult. So everybody, the word tachi means big sword, basically great sword or greater sword or war sword, you know. Now there's many different types of tachi. However, the word katana is actually the generic word just for sword sometimes. It's not the same as the generic word ken, which usually means straight Chinese sword for older swords, but it can mean blade. Even Miyamoto Musashi said in the old days we had tachi and katana. So tachi was the big sword, katana was the short sword, and then later they had katana and wakizashi. Now the difference is very, very slight, but you can, when you see them, you know them. So mainly it's in the curvature. Okay, the curvature is far more curved on a tachi. However, the lengths tend to be roughly the same. So what happened in a nutshell briefly is that the katana overtook the tachi. Okay, the tachi was pretty much a cavalry sword, but not always. It was also used as a foot soldiers. It was the older version, and then these swords were big and, you know, quite long, and what they did, and curved. Obviously, originally the theme goes that they were for cavalry, from horseback, sorry. But what happened was we get the uchigatana. So the uchigatana, striking sword, basically, is a shorter, not much, it's still decent length, and straighter and easier to wield on a battlefield. But as you can see by the pictures that are here, basically the tachi is more curved at the hilt and at the tip, the kisaki, and the katana tends to be more straight, has an even curve throughout. But there are some numbers we have to deal with. So this is where it gets a little bit, not confusing, but it gets a little bit modern in its differentiation. So anything that is between 60 centimeters and 90 centimeters is a katana or a tachi. They can both be that. However, anything over 90 centimeters has to be a tachi. Yep. Under 60 centimeters, it then becomes a wakizashi, okay, or a kodachi. All right. So these numbers are modern numbers, really. And actually, when you go back to the Sengoku period, the definition between swords is very slight, that you just find the word sword or tachi is used. But when the Edo period comes in, or when control in Japan comes in, the sword or swords are regulated. So then we get very strict rules on lengths and approximations and types and different types of hilts and different types of scabbards and laws on who can and cannot wear them. You see, so a lot of our classifications are actually from the Edo period, about 1600 onwards, up to today, and even modern people are still classifying them. So even though there's not a great ton of information here, guys, I want you to understand that this is the basic difference, is the curvature, also the side, the way they are signed underneath the hilt often changes, and basically the length will denote if it becomes a kodachi, a short sword, or wakizashi down there, if it's a katana or a tachi, or if it's an odachi, so a great sword, basically a big sword, so a big double-handed war sword. All right, so remember, basically Kimono Wolf has done these images for me. He's one of my students. He's a Natori student, and he's done that, and he's willing to do more, but please do follow him. But I've got an extra special surprise for you here. I uploaded a video a while ago on done by Miguel and the European Bugei Society, and this video took months to make, months, but we didn't get many views on it. So I'm going to re-put it here, and it is a breakdown, a three-dimensional breakdown of a tachi. So please do watch it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you'd like to support me, get yourself a copy of the Book of Ninja or the Book of Bushido, or How to Be a Modern Samurai or Samurai Death Cult. Welcome, my name is Anthony Cummins, and today I'm going to take you on a 3D tour of a Japanese sword. We will not focus on the famous katana, but the more often used tachi, or great sword. I am going to show you all the various parts and how they fit together. Before we get into it, please help support this channel by clicking the link in the pinned comment to get a copy of the Book of Bushido, now available on Audible. Let us start with the blade. The blade of a tachi greatsword is of course longer than the katana, but it is also more curved and it is signed slightly differently. However, many tachi were later cut down to become katana, so it can be confusing. The first item to go on is the habaki. This is a stopper which allows the handle of the tachi to fit securely in place. The next items are the seppa, or hilt spacers. A tachi has 6 of these, that is 2 sets of 3. First is the sho seppa, the lesser spacer. After this comes the chu seppa, middle-sized spacer, and finally the dai seppa, the larger spacer. This is the first set. After this comes the tsuba, or handguard, which leads us directly into the next set of 3 spacers. The handle is butted up by the kazuki, hilt collar, and then of course the hilt itself. Interestingly, the middle of the hilt is called the tsukanaka. At the end of the hilt we can get the kabuto gane, or the pommel, which holds the musubi gane, or pommel ring. This has an alternative name of sarude, or monkey hand. I would just like to say a thank you to Miguel from the European Bugei Society, who has created all the graphics for this video. A link to the European Bugei Society and their YouTube channel is put in the pinned comment. Let us now turn to the scabbard. The opening of the scabbard is called a koiguchi, or mouth of the fish. However, just over the top of the sword, remembering that a tachi is slung blade down, goes the rain protection cover. This is known as the ama-oi. After this part of the scabbard, it is wrapped in cord, the same cord used for the handle. This is known as watarimaki, or also kawasaki, the scabbard wrappings. At the forward end of the scabbard you will find 2 mounting points, the ichi no ashi and the ni no ashi, basically first and second leg. To keep the wrapping in place we have makisashi, the stopping band. Just down from the scabbard wrapping we have 2 metal bands which help to keep the scabbard together over the long military campaigns that it has to endure. These are the ichi no seme and the ni no seme. At the end of the scabbard we have more metal components. We have another scabbard band called the san no seme, the third band, and again we have a rain cap to stop water seeping in. Again this is called the ama-oi, while the very end is called the ishizuki, or the scabbard butt. The area between the wrapping and the tip of the scabbard is called the watari. For those who know about Japanese swords, you will notice that some of the terms differ and that some of the Japanese characters appear strange. This is because the information is direct from old samurai scroll titled Heigu Yoho, which was written by the war strategist Natori Masazumi in the 1670s, who incidentally was also a trained ninja and wrote the famous Shoninki Ninja Scroll, a title which can be interpreted as the true path of the ninja. This means that it is a very authentic description of a sword from samurai times, using the terms and phonetics that the samurai used themselves. Let us finish off with the mountings for the belt. Connecting the scabbard to the mountings is the hikae, the mount support strap, which has upon it the kawa no mon, where a samurai could display his family crest. Even though the cord which passes around the waist is one cord, it has different names. The part between the two mounts or legs is called the himotsuke, while the rest of it is called the obi-himo or scabbard cord. Finally, the actual part which takes the cord through is called the obitori. I hope that you enjoyed this display of the Japanese tachi, and if you would like to read the original manual in which it comes from, you can get the full translation in English under the title Samurai Arms, Armour and the Tactics of Warfare from the Book of Samurai series. This will be in the pinned comment. Thank you again to Miguel from the European Bugei Society, and finally I would ask that if you have enjoyed this video, please subscribe to this channel, and if possible get yourself a copy of the Book of Bushido, which is now out on Audible through Amazon. My name is Anthony Cummins, and I wish you well, good health and a good day.